My name is Rushik Desai. Welcome to GST Solution. Friends, in our earlier video, we had already gone through the provision with respect to filings of returns. We have also understood that all the filings of returns under GST needs to be done in electronic mode only. Further, there are various returns to be filed by the different class of registered person. Say for example, a registered person is required to file his GSTR1 for the outward supplies which he has made during the particular period. Apart from outward supplies, he is also required to furnish GSTR3B. The dates for filing these returns are also different. At the time of discussing GSTR3B, we had already discussed that the payments of any output tax liability for any particular month needs to be done under Form 3B itself. Friends, today we are going to understand what is the procedure for making payment under GST. Today we are also going to understand what is meant by the electronic cash ledger as well as what is meant by electronic credit ledger. Friends, in our today's video, we are going to discuss about Section 49. Section 49 says payment of interest, tax, penalty and any other amount. It has been said that all the payments under GST needs to be done via NEFT, RTGS, via debit card, via credit card or any other mode as prescribed by the rules. Friends, these payment of NEFT, RTGS also needs to be done under electronic mode only. Subsection 1 of Section 49 says that every deposit to be made by the registered person in form of any cash, in form of tax, in form of interest, penalty or any other sum which is due to the government needs to be done in electronic cash ledger only. The registered person will have to deposit the cash via NEFT RTGS to his electronic cash ledger, and after the cash has been deposited into electronic cash ledger, that is once the amount is credited in electronic cash ledger, at the time of paying any amount of tax, interest, penalty or any other sum due, registered person will have to pass a debit entry in electronic cash ledger to the extent of tax due to the government. Subsection 2 of Section 49 says electronic credit ledger. Now what is meant by electronic credit ledger? In Section 39, we had already discussed that all the input tax credit which the registered person is availing is provisionally, and hence all the provisional input tax credit which is self-assessed and which is provisionally assessed by the registered person will have to be credited in the electronic credit ledger. After crediting it into the electronic credit ledger, the registered person may utilize the same for payment of output liability. Subsection 3 of Section 49 says that amount available in any cash ledger will be only utilized towards payment of tax, interest, penalty and any other sum due. However, subsection 4 of Section 49 says that any amount which is available in the electronic credit ledger will have to be adjusted for making payment of output tax liability while filing the return, that is Form 3B, for any particular month. Subsection 5 of Section 49 prescribes the procedure, prescribes the manner in which the input tax credit needs to be utilized. Friends, it has been specifically states that the amount of IGST, CGST or SGST, that is amount of input tax credit available in the electronic cash ledger or electronic credit ledger on account of IGST, CGST or SGST will have to be utilized in a prescribed manner only as may be prescribed in the rules. It cannot be utilized in a haphazard way. So the manner given in subsection 5 says that any amount of input tax credit which is available in the IGST account will have to be first utilized for making payment under IGST only. If there is a sufficient balance after making payment of IGST, then that balance will be utilized towards making payment of tax for CGST. And even after making the payment of CGST, there is a sufficient balance in the IGST account, then the same will be utilized for making payment of SGST. Further, it has been said that once the input tax credit on account of IGST is over, a person may shift to CGST account. Any amount of input tax credit which is occurring in the electronic credit ledger on account of CGST needs to be first utilized towards making payment of central GST. Then if any amount which is available, it has to be utilized for making payment under IGST. Similarly, if there is any amount which is unutilized and is standing as a credit on account of SGST, it has to be first utilized for making payment under SGST output liability. Then the amount, if any remains, needs to be utilized for making payment for IGST. Friends, it has been very specifically said in the provision that amount of SGST will be utilized for making payment of IGST only in a situation where the amount of CGST, that is excess amount available in the CGST account, is fully utilized. Hence, one may draw a conclusion that if there is any excess balance available in CGST account, then SGST account should not be touched. It should be first utilized toward making payment of IGST, and then if CGST balance is fully utilized, one may shift to SGST for making or for offsetting the liability against IGST. Friends, further it has been said in the provision that at any point of time, the amount of input tax credit available in CGST or SGST will not be allowed to be utilized against each other. It means amount of input tax credit available in the CGST will not be allowed to set off the output liability against SGST, vis-a-vis any amount available in SGST account will not be available to be utilized against the CGST account. That is, CGST and SGST will not be allowed to be utilized against each other, to be set off against each other. Friends, subsection 6 says that after utilizing all the balances, after making payment of all the output tax liability given for a prescribed period, if there is any excess balance available under any of the account, that is CGST, SGST or IGST, that amount will be applied as refund as per the provision given under section 54. There are two situations given, there are two conditions given under which the refund under GST will be allowed. First is making zero rated supplies, and second, inverted duty structure where the rate of output is less than the rate of input. If there is any excess balance after utilizing the output liability, after offsetting the output side liability, then it will be applied as a refund. Friends, it has been further stated in subsection 7 of section 49 that all the liability which is accrued to a registered person will be maintained in an electronic liability register. So similarly, electronic cash ledger and electronic credit ledger, there is a ledger which is known as electronic liability register. All the amount of liabilities on account of tax, interest, penalty and any other sum due as per section 73 or as per section 74 shall be credited to electronic liability register. Once the amount is credited to the electronic liability register, then by the means of payment, that is by offsetting the credit or by utilizing the cash, such amount of liability will have to be offsetted, will have to be discharged. Further, subsection 8 of section 49 says that every person shall discharge the tax in following order only. One may have a question as, if I have an output liability of a previous tax period as well as if I have a liability of a current tax period, can I utilize the amount of input tax credit which is standing to my account towards making of payment, that is towards discharging of output liability of the current period first, then I will shift to previous tax periods. So friends, it has been specifically said that it will not be allowed. Once all the output liabilities of prior tax period is fully discharged, then only a person may shift towards offsetting of output liability for the current tax period. That means the manner, that is the order given for utilizing the output tax liability is offsetting the output liability firstly for the previous tax period, then a person may shift to offsetting the liabilities of the current tax period, and then any other sum which is due, which is liable to be paid by the registered person on account of tax, interest, penalty or any other sum due or any demand which has been raised by the GST department. Further, as per subsection 9, once the registered person makes the payment of the tax, it is deemed that he has passed on the full incidence of tax to the recipient of goods and services. It means, friends, once a supplier is making payment of tax, that is CGST, SGST or IGST, it will be deemed that the recipient have taken the credit. It will be deemed that the supplier have passed on the credit to the recipient, and the recipient is allowed to take the input tax credit as per the eligibility conditions of the GST. Recently, subsection 10 have been inserted wherein it has been said that any amount of cash which is available to the registered person on the electronic cash ledger, he is allowed to shift that amount of cash from one account of major tax to another account. It means if I have an excess balance in the CGST cash ledger and I have a liability of IGST, then in spite of paying excess cash in IGST account, I may have an option to transfer the balance of CGST, that is to transfer the balance of cash available in CGST to the SGST account or the IGST account towards utilizing or towards making the payment of output tax. Now, coming to section 49A. As per section 49, subsection 5, we had already understood the manner of utilization of input tax credit. However, there is a small amendment by means of section 49A wherein it has been stated that the amount of IGST will have to be utilized first. That is, if there is any balance in a IGST account, it will have to be utilized first, then only a person can shift towards offsetting the liability from CGST account or SGST accounts. Despite of offsetting the liability from the respective heads, that is CGST or SGST, it has been prescribed that the amount standing in IGST account will have to be utilized first towards making a payment of tax from the IGST, CGST or SGST, whatever it may be. 49B says that government has a specific power to prescribe the manner of utilization of input tax credit. Section 50, that is coming to section 50, we talks about interest. Now, in what circumstances a registered person is liable to pay interest? So, if there is any delay in making the payment of output tax, in such circumstances, the person is liable to pay interest at the rate of 18% per annum from the date of such non-payment of tax to the date or till the date when he makes the payment of tax. Further, if there is any contravention to the provision as may be specified in section 43 or section 42, in such a cases the person is liable to pay interest at the rate of 24% per annum. It means if there is any undue or excess reduction, if there is any undue claim of input tax credit, or that if there is any excess reduction in output tax liability, in such a circumstances, a registered person is liable to pay interest not exceeding 24% per annum from the date of such excess claim or reduction in output liability. So, along with the sections 49, 49A and 49B, it is very important for us to understand Rule 85, 86 and 87, which talks about electronic liability register, electronic cash ledger and electronic credit ledger. As already discussed, all the liabilities will be credited to the electronic liability register, and at the time of filing or at the time of payment of tax, the electronic liability register shall be debited and shall be reduced to such extent. In such a way, electronic cash ledger will be credited at the time of deposit and it will be debited while making any payment of tax, that is offsetting any output liability from the cash ledger account. I hope you find this video very informative and useful. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks a lot, friends.